Welcome everybody to our ApprovalMax product update webinar. We're excited to have you here. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to meet our speakers, we're going to do some polls, and we're going to do some feature demos, of course, which we're all eagerly awaiting. And you just need to answer questions. Our experts are on the line at the moment to answer your questions if you ask them in the Q&A system. I'm Dee Johns, and I'm the Head of Product Marketing here at ApprovalMax, and I'm joined by Alex, who's our Solution Engineer.
Hi, everyone. Once again, every quarter, we're doing these product update webinars where we explain what we've done so far during this quarter, hoping that all of these new updates, all of these new features will be in handy for you. And we actually got quite a few very big projects available or will be available very, very soon, and we're going to present them today. So I cannot wait to show you all of these new amazing product updates.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex. Before we get straight into those product updates, just a few housekeeping items. As you know, Zoom takes up a lot of bandwidth. So for the best experience, we recommend that you close down any other apps or programs that you have. As I said before, we really want this session to be interactive. So please ask any questions that you have in the Q&A section, and our product experts are on the line to answer those for you. Now, we're going to have a quick poll at the end of it, and we'd really love this to be a very interactive session. So please participate in that when it comes up. We have quite a few new people on the call that are new to ApprovalMax. So if you're new to ApprovalMax, it's a powerful accounts payable and receivable platform that gives you full control over approvals. It's trusted worldwide by businesses, accountants, and bookkeepers to strengthen your financial controls, all within a single platform. Now, Alex, I'm not going to take up any more of the time. Let's just jump straight into the new updates. And I think you're going to talk about data entry rules for ApprovalMax Capture first, yes?
That is correct. And that is actually a huge one. I'm pretty sure people will love it. Actually, this whole project came because of you guys, because you were asking some customization in terms of the capture rules. How do we extract the data from your incoming bills or purchase orders? And we finally did that, and we will be ready to show that to you already today, but you will be able to test it out very, very soon. Your customer success manager will let you know once it is available for the general audience. So what is it all about? If you're already familiar with our amazing ApprovalMax Capture, our add-on for optical character recognition for the extraction of your data, you will know that it is automatically predicting or suggesting what type of data should be applied to these incoming bills. So let's say if you receive the bill from your bank, most likely the account code would go for something like the fees or accountant or bookkeeping fees, something like that. So these suggestions work really well, and we are learning from your interactions, applying these values automatically. But in some case scenarios, you might want to change those things. So for example, if you're receiving bills from Amazon, you might be purchasing different things. They might be going into different account codes. They might be going into different tracking categories. They might have different tax codes. So rather than you will be just then later manually applying or changing those values yourself, these new product data entry rules, this new feature, will allow you to perform a specific coding on supplier by supplier level. Not only you can do that like a basic rules as what should be the tax rate or what should be the tracking category, you can do a very specific use case scenarios. For instance, if you are receiving bills from Amazon, you might want to know that if there is a line goes maybe for chairs or maybe for tables, such things should be automatically coded to furniture, and it should be going to a specific department, maybe from administrative department. You can do that with this new product, allowing you to really automate the whole process. So how does it work? Within the product, within your ApprovalMax account, on the bottom of the screen, you will find there is a contact details. And within the contact details, you will find two tabs. One is for the payment details. Later, we'll talk about that. But the other tab is called the capture settings. And you have three different ways how you're going to apply these rules to your suppliers. The first one is the basic rules. So on the supplier level, you can decide, let's say, on the due date, I want all the bills coming from ABC Furniture, the due date to be on the current month, on the first date of the current month. So no matter what is happening, and no matter what's the due date on the invoice itself, I want it to be automatically coded to the first day of the current month. Same goes with the currency. If you have multiple currencies in your account and you would like such bills to be coded to some other currency rather than the default one, you can apply that here. Same goes with that. Amount types, date format, account codes, tax codes, and your tracking categories. So these are basic coding rules. But you might have some kind of a very specific use cases. For example, here I have on the bottom of the screen conditional line coding rules. I already created one rule here. If we're receiving a bill from ABC Furniture and one of my line items contains chairs, I want this line to be automatically coded to account code office equipment. The tax code should be 20% VAT on expenses, and the region should be North. You can, of course, add more and more rules on top of these conditional rules. If, let's say, you received a line item for tables, it should be applied to the account code general expenses, and so on and so forth. So based on each and every line item, you want to make sure that they are all coded correctly. And then without doing anything at all, ApprovalMax Capture will do it for you. So as an example, since I do have this rule here that if I have a chair in one of my descriptions, it should be automatically coded to the office equipment. Let's give it a try. Let's try to create a bill and submit it for approval, and let's see how ApprovalMax Capture will extract the data. So if I'll try to create a new bill right now, let's upload a new file here, and I will be using one of my invoices. Let's say, all right, so this one will work. So I have an invoice from ABC Furniture. I have two line items here. As you can see, an oak dining table, and I have a dining chair. So the oak dining table most likely won't be automatically extracted in terms of the account code, won't be automatically applied. The tax code probably won't be automatically applied. And the tracking category won't be automatically applied because I don't have a rule for that. But as for the dining chair, it will be automatically coded to the office equipment and to the North region. Let's give it a try. If I'll confirm my choice, it will take some time to extract that data and apply on the right side of the screen. And keep in mind that I'm showing that to you on our internal solution, like on our staging. So it might be a bit slow than the production. Once it will be live for everyone, you will see that it works much, much, much quicker. But actually, you can see that it actually works pretty well. So here, what we can see, ABC Furniture was extracted correctly. And on a line item level, you can see that the oak table don't have an account code, don't have a region, because I've never had any conditional line extraction for that. But as for the dining chair, on the other hand, it's automatically applied the office equipment, it's automatically applied the region. So now I know that it all works perfectly well. And we can do many of these different conditional rules. There is a priority in terms of how would it extract the data for you. So if you've never applied any specific rules to your suppliers, we will be using just the suggestion model. We will be looking at your previous interactions with ApprovalMax Capture, and we will be applying category codes or tracking categories or tax rates based on what you've applied previously. If, on the other hand, you've added these conditional rules, we first will be looking at the basic rules, and we'll be applying those. If you have a conditional rules like I have for these chairs, they have a higher priority than the basic rules, and they have an even higher priority than the suggestions. So you can make a very, very smart way for you to extract the data for different suppliers. And that really can save a lot of your time, especially if you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of different invoices from multiple suppliers. And that is ApprovalMax Capture, the data entry rules. They are currently not available for the general audience. We're still doing some final tweaks. Very soon, it will be available for everyone, and you will be able to, well, for everyone who is using ApprovalMax Capture, and you will be able to test the solution. By the way, we've never tried it before, so I would want to try it this time. If some of these features are you really want to give them a try once they will be available, if you want to learn more, just write a comment in chat, like, hey, I want to know more about the data entry rules or maybe some other features. And we will gather that information after the webinar. Our customer success team will gather that information, and we will contact you once this feature is available, showing you how it works, making sure that you all know how, maybe some bits and bytes of all of that process. All right. That is data entry rules. Should we continue next, or do you have some specific.
So I was going to say, look, Megan's asked a question in the chat, and please remember to ask all the questions in the Q&A for our experts to answer, but we'll answer that really quickly. Could we set up the rules to capture when we type in the description? We do not have capture, so does not read the invoice, but hoping if we type in keywords, it would pick it up.
Not quite sure what does that mean. So when you're typing a description, when you're just creating a bill manually, well, it's actually not connected to this feature at all, because data entry rules is just for capture. If we're talking about just the manual creation of bills, then, well, the predictions are probably not there yet. It might be sometime in the future, but yeah, so the data entry rules have nothing to do with the manual creation of just bills. It is more that we are automatically extracting the data when you're emailing them into the system, or when you're dragging and dropping your invoices into the system. That's when it will automatically read and scan the information from that bill and extract that data. All that
Okay.
clears out the picture.
Thank you, Alex.
Perfect. I think we can move forward into the next feature, into the next update. But if you have questions, of course, our experts here is in the chat. They will be happy to answer those. So the next one, it's kind of connected. It's also for our ApprovalMax capture feature, and that is an email trail. When someone is sending you an invoice for extraction, for approvals, there might be some hidden context that you can miss if you don't have the actual email trail. And previously, we received quite a few feedback from our customers saying that, hey, we actually need to see what was in the email when we received that bill. Maybe they're asking for some specific due date. Maybe there is some specific terms and conditions we need to keep in mind. Is it possible somehow to see what was in the body of the email when they're submitting that for extraction? We've heard you, and we've made this new feature, this new update called the email trail. And if you're submitting something now via ApprovalMax capture via email, you will find the body of that email. The way it works, let me just go into one of my accounts here. So let's say I'm going to, actually, let's go into my mailbox. I've created already an email from ABC Furniture. Dear John Smith, I have some information in here, and I have an original attachment. Let's actually apply that attachment into that bill. Let's say it's going to be this one. Doesn't matter which one is here, but I'll just apply whatever invoice. So I will send it into our mailbox, into the ApprovalMax capture mailbox. And within several minutes or several seconds, under captured by me, it will appear as a new invoice. But before, we could only see the original invoice itself. So I will show you that on another example. It's pretty much all the same thing. You could only see the actual invoice without the body of an email. Now, on the top of the screen, when we're looking into the request, you will find there is an icon of a mailbox. So if I'll click on this one, on the left-hand side, you will find the body of that email showing you all the details about what you're approving. So let's refresh the page and see if it's already been under captured by me. Okay, looks like it's still extracting the data. All right, so while it's doing that, it's actually even for this request or for any other request here in our screen, we can just click on this email icon and it will show us what was in the body of that email. That's email trail. All right, any questions on that update?
Brilliant. Look, Alex, I was just thinking, what scenarios could we apply this email trail to?
One easiest case would be when you have some specific terms and conditions and you want to know what are they. So it might not be necessarily in the email, in the invoice itself, but it might be just in the body of the email. So there might be some hidden context that you don't want to miss. Maybe some communication that you had before, or if you've agreed with your supplier, maybe on some specific discount. Such things might not be necessarily in the invoice itself, but it might be in the body of that email. So you want to see what was in the communication. And that is exactly what is it for.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Perfect. Moving forward, this one is also coming soon, and that was one of the most anticipated features ever, I think. Because what we've learned from looking at the data, around 70 to 80% of all the matching happening within ApprovalMax, it's actually between one PO and one bill. And it's usually absolutely exactly the same bills whatsoever. So if you're raising a PO, let's say for 10 grand, then later you will receive a bill from your supplier. Most likely in 80% of cases, it will be exactly the same. So why would you necessarily want to spend a lot of your time clicking on match with PO, trying to find which PO it should be matched with? Then most likely you already know which PO is that, especially if you're copying that PO into the bill. You can just click on match straight away and continue with an approval process. So we've heard you, and we've added this new feature called the one-click matching. Now it will allow you to match all of these things in just one click. The way it works, very, very simple. If we'll go back into our ApprovalMax account, let's say I've got this bill from ABC Furniture. Well, actually, this one is being canceled. So let's actually just take this purchase order that I have, and we'll copy that into the bill. That is one way. You can, of course, just take and email the invoice into ApprovalMax via capture. It will work in exactly the same way, but I will just show you how would it look like if I'm copying that PO into the bill. So if I'll submit this bill now for approval, on the bottom of the screen, you will find an additional feature for this bill to PO matching, where now it will show you that, hey, it looks like there is at least one purchase order. There's a PO that looks very similar to the bill that you're approving right now. It shows you what's the amount. And if you would like to match that entire bill to the PO, just click on match, and it's all being done. So you don't need to go through the list of all of these different purchase orders. You can just do one thing straight away and continue with your work. Of course, if you want to change the thing, if you want to match that against some other POs, you can continue with the previous way of matching. You can just select which one you would like. But if it's exactly the same thing, if you know that this PO is exactly the same to that bill, you can just click on match it and continue work. So very, very simple and saves a lot of time.
Brilliant. I love that, Alex.
Okay. For some reason, I cannot slide to another screen of mine.
We're a little bit stuck.
Let me actually just do it this way. All right. So the next one is one of the largest updates ever. And I'm pretty sure that our head of payment services is here today in the audience. He is very proud of this baby, and we are very proud of this new product, and it's called Wallets. And it's an amazing new product that will allow you to pay instantly to your suppliers globally, though staying locally. And it's a great product, and I will explain the way it works in a second. So previously, you might know that we already created a product called ApprovalMax Pay, which worked via open banking technology. So you could connect your bank account directly to ApprovalMax, and then you could execute the payments. And it works perfectly well. We have hundreds and thousands of clients using that daily, approving their bills, making their payments, and it's all going pretty well. However, there are a few downsides. There are a few things that we need to keep in mind when we're making all of these payments. One of them would be that we can only use the domestic payments by using the open banking technology. We cannot pay internationally with open banking technology. That is one downside, especially if we're paying to different types of suppliers across the globe. The other big downside would be that we cannot really make a payment in bulk when we have multiple suppliers. If we need to have, let's say, 30 payments, we need to make 30 payments in one batch. With open banking, we couldn't really do that. That's the limitation behind that technology. We had to approve every single transaction. Unless we would have several bills from the same supplier, then we could merge them and perform the payment. With this new product, with Wallets, it is like you're opening a bank account within ApprovalMax. So you would actually create a bank account and you will fund the money into that wallet, and you can create any number of wallets in different currencies. So you can pay globally on the local rails. For example, if you are working with your suppliers, maybe in Dubai, or maybe in Japan, somewhere else, rather than you will be paying using Swift, where sometimes, you know, fees might be 20, 30, or even more dollars per each and every transaction, you can actually open like a bank account in Japan. So you will be using the fast payments within that country. It will be fast, it will be much, much cheaper, and you can clearly see when you're making all of these transactions, what these fees would be.
Yeah.
And another great thing about the wallets, that you can now add as many bills as needed, up to 200, and pay them in just one single click. So now you won't need to waste a lot of your time executing or approving every single transaction. You can just do the whole thing in once. So how does it work? Wallets. So within your ApprovalMax account, it is now under early access. Later, we'll talk about that. Within your ApprovalMax account, you'll find there is a new category called the ApprovalMax Pay. And here you'll find two additional options. One is a bank account. That is an open banking technology. So we keep that product as well, as long as alongside with wallets. So you can still continue using that. And also you will find a wallets. Initially, you would need to go through the KYB process. It's a very regular process. There is nothing unusual, so you can just provide the information needed. You would need to decide who should be the account owner or the wallet owner. And later you can decide on user by user basis who should be the wallet managers and who will be able to execute these payments. So you keep all of these things intact. Moreover, it's an additional layer for the fraud prevention. So you would know exactly who is the person responsible for that wallet. Initially, when you're opening your account in wallets, you will find a British pound wallet that is like a central hub for all of our payments. And with that, you can create any number of additional currency wallets. So here I have Australian dollars, I have Bahrain dinars, USD dollars. But in case I would need to create an additional currency, I can just easily add another one. Let's say we're going to use Norwegian krone, create, and it's already here. So all we need to do now is to fund money from my central hub GBP account into my Norwegian krone account. So let's say if I'll click on convert, I'll just selecting GBP into Norwegian krone. I would like to reallocate 10,000 pounds, convert. It will show me what is the exchange rate. It is updated every like 30 seconds, and we can see what is going on. Once the transaction is confirmed, it will be automatically then sent into our Norwegian krone wallet. It takes some time to do that, so it won't be instant, but you can keep track of all of these transactions under the transaction tab, seeing what is going on for each and every wallet that you have, how much money you've funded, how much money you've converted, how much money you've got into each and every wallet, and what's the status for each and every wallet. And of course, in case you would need to download that as a report, you can of course do that as well. So now once we have all of these wallets available, and once we've funded them, once we've converted the money into each and every wallet that we have here on the list, let's try to create a batch, and let's see how would it look like for the people who will be creating these batches, approving these batches, and actually executing these payments. So again, we'll just click on the plus sign on the batch payment workflow, and now it will ask which product we would like to use for that. We can use both, as I've mentioned, both open banking technology and multi-currency ApprovalMax wallets. So we can just select, in our case, we're going to pay through ApprovalMax wallets. Save, and it will show you the list of all the bills available for us. Let's say we're going to apply these 3 bills into our batch. 2 of them will be in British pounds, 1 of them will be in USD. Click on add, and straight away we can see what is happening for each and every line item. We can see how much money we're going to pay for each and every bill. We can see the payment details. And if we'll click on that payment details, it will show you some additional information. Or even if we're talking about the local British transactions between our local suppliers, we are using the confirmation of pay. So it will show you if there is a full match or if there is no match. So I have all the details available for you, even during the batch creation form. So you know exactly where you're paying money. So you won't pay to some scammers. You won't have some fraudulent activities within your account. Same if we're talking about the USD, I will add it here as the USD local, and we can see which which currency will be used, and how much money we will be paying in fees for each and every transaction. So this is actually super, super important. If we are sitting here in the UK, well, I'm sitting in Serbia now, but let's imagine that we're sitting in the UK and we need to pay to our suppliers back in the US. Of course, we can use the SWIFT, and that will cost us $20. Or sometimes, even within the UK, even if you're paying locally, your single transaction might cost you 3, 4, in some cases, £5 per transaction. Here you can see that you will be paying only 50 pence for that transaction, and you know exactly what is going on. You don't need to purchase any packages of these payments. You don't need to pay any fees to open this account. You don't need to know anything in advance. Everything is available for you at glance when you're creating that batch. You know exactly how much money you would pay for each and every transaction.
And Alex, actually, that's a really interesting point, because we have a question from Sheridan. Are the conversion fees a spread, or is it an interbank rate? How do our conversion fees work?
Yeah, that's an interbank conversion rate. But when we're talking about the fees here, it is on the local rails of that specific currency if we're talking about. So there is different price and different fees for payments. So within the UK, and there are a few countries that will be 50 pence. If I'm not mistaken, for the Norwegian krone, it will be a bit higher than that. So that's very depends on the country, and we have a pricing for each and every transaction for each and every currency. So you would know exactly how much you will be paying, well, with different wallets. But it's just like you would go yourself into the US and open the US bank to pay locally. That is why we're using this phrase, paying globally on the local rails, staying locally.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex.
So if I'll submit this bill for approval now, we will find all the details about each and every line, how much we're going to pay, what are the fee amounts. Here we can see what is the balance, so we would know if we have actually money to pay for these bills. We can check the details on the payment providers, if the confirmation of pay is correct, if it's being a full match, if the details for our US providers are all fine. If it's ever being changed, it will show you either the yellow flag or the red flag if it's actually being changed. So have all of these details already available for you for each and every transaction. And once we'll approve this batch, if you're allowed to make the payments, so if you're a wallet manager, you'll click on Pay with ApprovalMax, and it will show you a summary for both your wallets in GBP, what you will be paying, wallets in USD or any other currencies, so you would know how much money would be coming from each and every wallet. And if I'll click on Pay Now, I would need to enter my two-factor authentication. I'm not sure if I actually do have access to my two-factor authentication, but let's try. Yeah, I don't have the confirmation. Well, I just don't have my two-factor authentication for this account. Anyway, if you had the correct authentication code, you would execute the payment, and at that stage, the money will be sent to that supplier, and automatically in your Zero file, we will create these transactions. So you won't need to do anything at all. It will be all done automatically from ApprovalMax side. All you would need to do, you just need to go later into your Zero file and reconcile the transaction by clicking OK per each and every line that you would like to reconcile. And that is,
and see what all of the the security elements that we have. You couldn't even get into your account because you didn't have 2FA, and so there's added levels of security, which is awesome. But along with this solution, the beauty of it all is that it's in the same platform as you're doing all of your approvals in, so there's no app switching.
exactly. So you have several ways or several layers of this security, starting from the data extraction, you know where it came from, you know the details about your suppliers. You're not just randomly taking the payment details from whatever sources, you store these sources within ApprovalMax. So we're having these payment details within ApprovalMax where you can assign user by user who is allowed to see these payment details, who is allowed to create them, and who is allowed to edit them. So for instance, if I'll take a look on the West Trade Inc. here, we can see that though I don't have any financial details in my Zero file, within ApprovalMax itself, I can create the payment details. And it shows me the audit trail of each and every step of the process. who created that payment detail in the past, who've updated that, who removed the payment details, who've made any change to those payment details. We have it all here. Then on top of that, for our UK businesses, for our UK suppliers, there is a confirmation of pay. So we're checking details against these suppliers. Then on top of that, once you're doing the actual creation of badges and payment of badges, you're selecting which wallet you would like to use for that. You can see straight away what are the fees, and you can see straight away if anyone has ever changed payment details. So there are many, many different layers of security, so you would know exactly where you're paying your money to.
Absolutely. And I think just before we go to a question from Megan, I saw Ben put this in the chat for everybody to know, but the payment provider that we're using is Currency Cloud, and they also support Visa. So it is a very reputable a payment platform that we have built our ApprovalMax workflows on as well. Thank you, Ben, for that. And Alex, there's a question from Megan. Can we do a batch payment to a supplier, or does this have to be on an invoice by invoice basis?
What do you mean by that? So you can, if you would like to create a batch of supplier of invoices to that specific one supplier, or what does it mean? I'm not quite sure
Well,
the question.
I think, Megan, you can provide some more. Yes, Megan just provided the answer to say yes. So you can batch up to 200 payments. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only you can do that per supplier, you can do that for multiple suppliers. Just take any number of bills that you have in ApprovalMax that were already approved, just combine them into a batch and pay them in one go. It might be to the same supplier, it might be to different suppliers. That's up to you. There is only one limitation, that it might be up to 200 bills in the batch. So you can create multiple batches if you have more than 200 bills. But overall, absolutely.
That's perfect. Thanks, Alex. We'll continue to answer questions in the Q&A section as well.
Perfect. So that is ApprovalMax Pay wallets. It's already available under private beta. We will be later asking you about, if you would like to give it a try, but very, very soon it will be available for everyone. So stay up to news, and our customer success team will be here to help in case you would want to give it a try. They will be in contact with you.
Awesome.
So moving forward into some of our news some of our updates for QuickBooks Online. The first one, it's an auto matching. It is quite similar to what we've seen before with a one-click matching. It's even, I'd say, in some case, even easier, because if you're copying a PO into the bill, there is really no need for you to do the matching at all. Because if that's exactly the same thing, why would you even click on match with PO when you can just automatically match one thing to another? We've heard you, and we've added this update into our QuickBooks Online integration. So if you now have already a purchase order and you're just copying that into the bill, you won't need to do anything at all. It will be automatically matched to that PO. So the way it will look, it's quite simple. Let's go into our ApprovalMax account. Let's go into our QuickBooks Online organization, and let's take a look into one of these purchase orders here that we have on the list. So let's say I've got this purchase order to ABC Furniture. Let's just approve it. And once it get approved and sent into QuickBooks Online, once it get registered over there, I will be able to copy that PO into my bill. Let's see if I maybe have another already approved one. Okay, I've got this purchase order to ABC Furniture. It is already in QBO. We can see that it's been fully approved. We can see there is a link open in QuickBooks Online. Everything is good. So if I'll click now into copy to and select copy to bill, it will automatically create a bill for me, and it will automatically include all the information about the request that I've used before in the PO. It will already automatically apply the category details. It will automatically apply what is the vendor, and it will automatically apply all the attachments that I have here. And on top of that, if I'll take a look into the right side of the screen of these category items, I will find that it's already linked to the PO. So if I'll click, we will see that we have exactly the same line item back in the PO, that it's already being linked, and we can see what is the amount. So that's how auto matching works. There is no need for you to do anything at all. What might be the use case for that? Of course, when we're talking about just one line item, perhaps it makes a bit less sense because it's a very, very simple one. But let's imagine that we have a PO with 10 line items. and we would like to match that against half of these line items later on. So we can just copy that PO into the bill, and it will automatically match all the line items against the line items in the PO. And then we can just click on remove the line in case that's needed, and it will remove all the unnecessary lines. So without doing much, all the rest of the requests will be already matched against the lines in the PO. So it just makes it a bit easier for you, and it will save a lot of time not doing this additional extra work. I don't think there is many questions regarding the auto matching. It's very, very simple. The next feature, again, also for our QuickBooks Online customers, and you've been asking for that a lot, especially for those of you who are in accountants or bookkeeping practice, and you're working a lot with the journal entries. I know even that some customer specifically asked if we could demo this new update because they've heard somewhere that we now are adding that into our QBO integration, and that is a journal entry import. So if you're working a lot with journal entries, you already know that we have a journal entry workflow for our QuickBooks Online, for our Xero integrations, for our NetSuite integrations. But some of you are asking that manually creating these journal entries might be, well, a bit time consuming. So you would like to import the information into QuickBooks Online into these journal entries, especially if you have multiple line items, without doing that yourself. We've added that option to our QuickBooks Online integration. So you now will be able to upload journals by using our template, and you can upload up to 200 lines in one go, in one file. So the way it looks, again, if we'll go into our approval workflows for QuickBooks Online, for journal entry workflows, the way it works, it's quite similar to all other workflows that we have here on the list. There are people who is allowed to create these journal entries, and there are people who is allowed to approve these journal entries. So if I'll now try to create a new journal entry, previously, the only way for us to deal with that would be to do that manually. Let's say provide the journal entry 001, and then provide what should be the account code, what should be debit, what should be the description, type, tax, and so on. Imagine if you have 100 lines, it might take forever to do so. So now we've added an import file. You have some instructions on what is the template, and how you should proceed with these line items. And you can just download the template file and go with the instructions. So if you already have something that you would like to upload, I already prepared the CSV file. Click on import, and within seconds, it will extract the data from that CSV file. And now I have all of my 100 line items automatically applied. So I've spent just a second to do that in here. Very, very simple. So the only thing I would need to do is just to add my last line for accrued. Let's say it's going to be this amount. Okay. And let's say it's going to be again for Edinburgh, for North. Provide memo. It will be automatically attached to that request. So all we need to do now is to submit it for approval. Very, very simple, saves a lot of time. Very nice and powerful feature. So if you're using journal entries a lot with your QuickBooks Online integration, you should have access to this feature already now. Of course, you will be able to reverse it as well. So all of that is available for you, but just like you would expect it from the journal entries.
That's awesome, Alex. Now we've gone through all of our Xero updates, all of our QBO updates. Now we're going to get on to NetSuite, aren't we?
That is correct. We're coming to the NetSuite part. I wonder if there are people in the audience who are using NetSuite. Let us know in the chat section if some of these we do, right? All right.
Please let us know in the chat rather than Q&A. Just put it in the chat if you're using NetSuite.
Perfect. So moving forward into the NetSuite updates. The first one is also a pretty big one, especially for those of you who are using NetSuite, and maybe previously you've been using ApprovalMax for Xero, now you switched over to NetSuite. A lot of you were asking about the bill to PO matching piece, because there are quite a few things that comes with that, and it took a bit of a time for us to develop the whole procedure, the whole update. But now it is all available, and now you can perform the bill to PO matching, and later I will talk about another feature that goes with that. So the bill to PO matching, we are mimicking the process just like you would see and just like you would expect it in your NetSuite organization. So if you're raising a purchase order in ApprovalMax now, Once it is fully approved, let me just say if I have already a PO available. So let's say I've got this purchase order here. It is pending receipt. Well, this one is already matched against the purchase order. Let's actually create a new one. So I'm going to raise a PO for, let's say, Agro LLC. It's going to be for our San Francisco office. And we're going to purchase, let's say, for furniture and fixtures, $1,000 with the tax code. Whatever, New York. Let's say we're purchasing some tables. And let's actually copy that. And we're going to also purchase some chairs for $500. Okay. So now let's just submit it for approval. What I've missed, what the mandatory field. All right, yeah, we don't need to email that to supplier. Let's just skip that. Submit it for approval. Now it goes through the approval cycle, something that would we expect. But the way it all works in NetSuite, that we need to create a link between our PO and our bill. So unlike Zero, where there is no bill to PO matching at all, in NetSuite, it is being hard-coded. So we need to make sure that it's actually being linked against this PO. So what I will do now, let me just, all right, so it's now syncing with NetSuite. That's actually another feature that we have. Let's just say if I have another purchase order, let's just say maybe this one.
There seems to be a theme about the furniture, Alex. Is that because you're moving very shortly?
That is correct. That is the whole idea behind that, the time now. Just my mind is all in about the moving stuff and what furniture, how we're going to move our stuff from here into the UK, how we're going to purchase things. But yeah, let's say now once we've approved the bill, we will see that the status has changed from just awaiting approval to pending receipt. So what we can do, we can either use, of course, ApprovalMax capture and create a bill out of this, and we can match that against the PO, or we can just use the copy to bill, and that will do exactly the same thing. So if I'll copy this PO into the bill, just like we've seen before with QuickBooks Online, we will be able to match this bill against the PO. And by the way, in NetSuite, it also works the same way as in QuickBooks Online. It's now automatically matched against that PO. So I don't need to do much in this case. So if I'll now just submit it for approval, yeah, let's just select San Francisco. If I'll now just submit it for approval, this bill is now fully matched against the PO, and it will be reflected in my NetSuite account as well. So we will have a link between one system to one bill against the PO. But here we can see it's all being matched against the PO. But in NetSuite, there is a thing called the three-way matching. So it's not yet fully matched unless you will provide an additional transaction type called the item receipt. So we raise the PO, we receive the bill, but we need to have also an item receipt matched against this purchase order. And that will finish the whole cycle of these matches alongside with all of these different transaction types. And then the status will be changed to fully billed. So again, how would we do that? Once we've raised that bill, once we've matched that against the PO, let's again go back into our purchase order and let's copy this PO into the item receipt. It will create a new transaction type in NetSuite. So we can see that it's being received. We can decide on the line by line level. We can see that it's being matched against the purchase order. We can see that it's being matched against the bills. So we know that it's all being now fine. We can, of course, apply some additional files here that will go alongside with this transaction. And if we'll submit this bill for approval now, and once the item receipt will be fully approved, the status of the PO will be changing from pending receipt into fully billed. Let's just fully approve the bill. So now within a couple of seconds, once the both bill and the item receipt will be synced with NetSuite, the status on the PO will be changing from pending receipt to fully billed. Let's see if it's already has happened. So now it is fully billed, and now the full cycle of matching has been completed. So that is both the bill to PO matching and the next feature, the three-way matching. So there is no need for us to, to separate those things. They are actually comes together. But in some cases, some companies, they don't do the item receipt matching. They just do the bill to PO. But in most cases, you would do the whole three-way matching. So both of those things are now available for you.
A super exciting three-way matching. Such use cases for all of our customers.
That is correct. Yeah. So a lot of companies were looking actively for these specific three-way matching feature. So now it is all available for our customers. Moving forward into the next feature, again for NetSuite, it is on editing on approval. Those of you who are using Xero, you would know about this feature already. You can just go under each and every approval step and change whatever needed to be changed. So if, let's say, you are the CFO at the last approval stage, and you might want to change things like an account code or like the description, in Xero, if you have specific permissions and editing on approval, you could do that. For our NetSuite customers, it is now also possible. So we've added the editing on approval to our NetSuite integration. And it works very simple. All you would need to do is simply to go into your approval workflows in your NetSuite organization, into your workflow, and under each and every approval step, or whenever you would like to. So let's say for our CEO step for Franz Kafka, I would like him to be able to edit things. So I will allow to edit, click on done, update the workflow. Now, whatever will be sent over to Franz, he will be able to perform a coding on such documents. So how would it look like from the user perspective? If I'll log out now and log in as Franz Kafka, it requires my review. Let's say I've got this bill from Chevron. I've noticed that something is wrong, maybe with memo. I can see that it's only for delivery, but without any details. So I am, as the reviewer, as the CFO at the last approval stage, with an ability to change things on the fly, can click on edit. Requires my review. I can click on edit and nothing will happen to me. Okay, for some reason, I'm not allowed to change things just yet.
You don't have high enough permissions, Alex.
Yeah, looks like. I will need to check that why I'm not allowed to change things, though I had editing on approval. Anyway, let me log out from this guy and sign back into my main account.
But rest assured, for the people that have permissions, you're absolutely allowed to do all of these changes.
All right, so if I'm in here, let's just skip that. For some reason, I couldn't do the editing on approval for this guy. So moving forward, unless we have any specific questions on the editing on approval, but overall, it's a very simple update, the one that we have for our Xero integration. So I don't think there is many questions on this one.
Yeah, there isn't in the chat. Thanks, Alex.
Perfect. The next one is enhanced bill capture. So in NetSuite, you would know that there are many additional fields. Unlike Xero, unlike QBO, you have fields like additional departments, some custom fields, locations built into the expense items. There are many, many things that you've been asking us that we can add into ApprovalMax capture, so they will be also automatically extracted when we apply these bills for capture. So we've added those additional fields. And now whenever you're uploading a bill for capture, it will automatically extract the data like your departments, like your locations. So for example, let's go back into our NetSuite subsidiary. If I'll try to create a new bill, and let's just upload this invoice. I've got one from Computers Extreme. It's for engineering department, and it's for our San Diego office. If I'll confirm my choice, it should, though I cannot promise anymore, looking at the editing on approval, it should automatically extract the data such as the location, such as the department. So let's see if that will happen.
You don't have permissions for this one either?
I should have.
Still working.
It's just doing its magic on the background.
Yeah. There's lots of people using the platform at the moment, but I know you're in staging, so it's always a little bit slower.
We should have like a background elevator music going on at this. Hold in line.
Well, yes. Just to keep the audience entertained, we've got a couple of more changes, a couple of more updates that we're going to tell you about for NetSuite, and we should be finishing right on time.
Just when you're saying let's do some entertainment, it did a job. So now, as we can see, the vendors was extracted completely correct. And here on the department side, on the location side, we can see that the engineering department and the San Diego location being extracted correctly. And also we can see on the line items itself, we have the correct location and we have the department. So it's extracted the data from that invoice and applied that to the correct fields for our NetSuite integration. So that is a smaller update, but still might be very helpful for some of you who are actually actively using different types of columns within your requests, like departments, like locations, and etc.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex.
Sure. And moving forward, we have, I think, just two more additional updates for you to talk about. The first one would be the line item reports. So you know that we have built-in reports, but for our NetSuite integration, previously we only had the aggregated reports. You could only create a report based on the actual transactions, like your bills, like your purchase orders, and others. But in some scenarios, you might want to also create a report on the line item level, what you've already received. Let's say if you're creating reports for item receipts, and you want to see the status for these receipts. Previously, you couldn't really do that, but now we've changed those things, especially now when we have a three-way matching, it actually makes perfect sense. So now you have a line item reports that you can schedule, that you can customize, and you can actually see what is happening, what you're purchasing, where the money is being going, where the money is being sent to. So on the product side, it's very, very simple. Just like we have access to all of our reports from the main menu. Now you will find there's a line item reports available for you. You can create them for each and every transaction type that you have in NetSuite, like the bill items, like the bill expense lines, or if we're talking about the item receipts, you will find them here. So let's say item receipt expense line. Within the filters, select what you would like to see within the report. Maybe I want to see everything that's being approved, and if it's being matched against the bills or matched against the purchase orders. And then within the visible columns, select what you would like to see within this report. Maybe I want to see what's the date, what's the vendor, matched bills, and matched purchase orders. And we don't really care about the description just yet. So these are item receipts. Click on create. And it will show us the report for these line items with all the links provided, with all the vendors, all the columns that we want to see. And of course, if you want to have that report in your Excel spreadsheet, if you want to receive them maybe on a daily or a weekly basis, you can either just download these reports on ad hoc basis, or you can schedule them, provide a list of email addresses where this report should be sent to, select the schedule every week on Monday, what time you want to receive such report, save changes, and this report will be sent to you automatically. You won't need to log into your ApprovalMax account or open your reports to see that. It's very simple and very nice addition to your already existing request reports.
Automation. You have to love it.
Exactly. And the last but not least, it's a smaller update. It has a very unique use case, but a lot of customers were actually asking for that. And the way this update works, that when you are creating, let's say, a new bill or a new purchase or whatever request type you would like to see in your ApprovalMax account, in some case scenarios, you would like this transaction to be posted in NetSuite straight away, even before it's got automatically, even before it get approved. So for example, if you're using suit tax calculates these taxes automatically. So in order for us to receive that data back into our ApprovalMax, we need to post that transaction into NetSuite. That's when we will be able to bring the data about these suit tax. So this update allows you to do exactly that. When you're raising a new request, if you will select a setting to automatically post this transaction upon the submission, it will send it straight away once it's been submitted. And within 10 to 20 seconds, it will be posted into NetSuite and we will retrieve the data back into our ApprovalMax. So from then you can continue on. You will have transaction into NetSuite. You will have transaction into ApprovalMax. The only thing that will change once you will approve this bill or the PO, the status of that request will be changed from pending approval, from open request to fully approved request. So very simple, and it's available within your settings. Feel free to change that. I know that some of our customers in Xero and some of our customers in QBO would like to see this option as well. It is probably will be coming soon as well for other integrations for you guys, for Xero, for QuickBooks Online, but currently it's only for NetSuite, and mainly because we have this major use case regarding suit tax. So that is why it first comes to NetSuite, but later you should expect that for other integrations as well. And that was our last update for today's webinar. We have one poll for you to run. Remember, we were discussing ApprovalMax Pay wallets. So we would like to invite you to our early access so you can give it a try, you can see how it works and really see the benefit of this new product. So let's, Dee, if you could maybe run a poll and we could see if there is someone in the audience who would like to participate in this early access.
Absolutely, Alex. Just let me get that poll up and running right now so we can launch that. Also, what I will do, the poll is running a little bit slowly on mine, but what I will do is also in the chat, please have a look. I've put a Google form in there for you so you can actually fill out your details into that form. So that's in the chat for you now. So if you've said yes, 40% of you have said yes, that's pretty awesome. Please make sure you copy that link, fill out your details, and then our head of payments will contact you with the next steps. So what I can see, Alex, is we're almost in a split. 40% yes and 60% no.
I've noticed a lot in a lot of cases, some companies don't want to be a part of beta. They want to be a part of already, available or existing product for everyone. It will be available very, very soon. But for those newcomers, for those who want to try the technology firsthand, this is a great opportunity to jump on the first train and see how wallets will actually perform and how it can help you make your payments quickly.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Alex. That actually brings us to the end. If you can go to the next slide for me, I will leave that URL in there for you in case anybody else wants to copy that and register their interest. But that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you very much for joining us. Just a few quick reminders. Everybody registered will receive a copy of this presentation by the end of the week. If you're considering ApprovalMax, we run weekly product demos where Alex, you will have him in a room all to you, with a number of other people who will provide you all of the information you need about ApprovalMax, demo some of our other features as well. I'm just about to put that link if you would like to join our demo sessions. If you're new to ApprovalMax, I will post that link in the chat for you there so you can join. Please also rest assured if there are any outstanding questions within the chat here, we will come back to you and answer every question. So don't worry, you will get an answer from our experts by the end of the week. We hope that these updates save you time and improve your processes. And we look forward to giving you all our new updates every quarter. Over to you, Alex.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. I hope you found it very useful, and we'll see you very, very soon in our next product update that will be happening in December, if I'm not mistaken. So looking
That's
forward
correct,
for it,
Alex.
and thank you so much.